First of all, do you like the fact that the teams in the World Series, the Rangers were tied for sixth in winning percentage this year, and the Diamondbacks were 12th? That seems to bug some people. Full disclosure, it doesn't bug me. What are your thoughts on that?
It doesn't bother me. I mean, I see the postseason for what it is, and have since the moment I was fortunate enough to step on the baseball beat. I saw a 100-win Lion of the summer lose to a Red Sox team of the moment. And, I mean, that didn't turn out well for the locals, obviously, but that doesn't take away from what the Red Sox did. They were a tremendous team at the right time, and I appreciate that. I don't think, and I understand it. I understand the frustration and everything like that, and I know that fanhood isn't about being consistent. I get that, but step back for a moment and help me reconcile the notion that we can celebrate a clutch performance of an individual, but then undercut the clutch performance of a team. If we celebrate how great individuals are in October, shouldn't we also celebrate like that team that comes together? Like if David Freese happens because, man, he had a good season, but he had a great October. And that's an amazing thing, and he should be celebrated for that forever. Isn't that the same way with the team? Like, they had an okay regular season, but, man, when the chips were down and the pressure was on and the stage was the biggest and the lights were the brightest, they were awesome. And isn't that cool? I kind of like that.
I do
like
too.
When a team is clutch.
I totally agree with you, my friend. I do. I just I think, and you know, and the other thing about this that's kind of weird to me is why so many people who profess to be baseball fans for a long time or whatever, they're shocked and appalled. Some of them, but they're very loud about it. They're shocked and appalled, like every time this happens, where a team exceeds expectations based on their regular season record. And you know, there's been 68 in the divisional era, which began in 1969. There's been 68 seasons where a team won 100 games or more, 68 times. Those 68 teams in that respective year, of those 68 teams, only 14 have won the World Series. And if you lower the threshold, you know, if you want to make it I don't know what you want to make the baseline, you know, but I'll give it a whirl right here real quick, and I'm sorry for delaying. My bad, really, my bad. There have been, let's see, how many of these teams have won the World Series? It's bad radio and it's rude to my guests, and I apologize. No, I'll get back to that. But, you know, a relatively low percentage of 100-win teams have won the World Series, but yet every time you see the Atlanta Braves or the Dodgers this year get knocked out, people are just, oh man, it's just the best teams they don't get rewarded for all they did. It's not supposed to work that way.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, it really never has. I mean, we've both seen 100-win teams not make the playoffs at all. So at least that can't be said anymore. Right,
no doubt about it. Is there anything about either team's postseason performance, whatever trends emerged in the postseason, is there anything there that gives you an inkling that perhaps that will be a factor in this series?
Oh, interesting question. Oh, you took a twist there at the end.
I did, huh? Well,
boy, I'm really intrigued by the bullpens.
Yep.
Because it's like, all right, Bruce Bochy, here's what you got, and you got a closer who had 4 saves during the season, who's been really good, but has 3 saves during the postseason. And then on the other end, you got this just cobbled together bullpen. And I wrote a little bit about this for tomorrow, that Arizona kind of put together on the fly. I mean, even one of their more prominent, Ryan Thompson, who's been really good, this postseason. You know, he was released by the Rays. The Rays in August. How many teams go, hey, man, the Rays just released a reliever. Let's go get that guy. But he's been great for them. I'm fascinated by what the bullpens could do in this series with this slight twist of the fact that there's just enough starting pitching in here in this series to make the bullpens, to alleviate the stress on the bullpens so they might be at their best. You want to stat that I have for tomorrow's story, Bernie?
Yeah, man, sure.
Okay. All right. This is just a little tease. I mean, it's not the only stat. I got a bunch of other cool, fun numbers in there. I went complete Miklasz on this story, the full Bernie. But of the 72 games so far played in the postseason, 19 of them, the starter has gone 6 innings or more, right? 18 of those 19 games are quality starts. That's how good pitchers have to be to go deep into games. It gets even crazier. 17 of the 19, the starter has gone more than 6 innings and allowed 2 or fewer earned runs.
That's great stuff.
Isn't that amazing? That's how good a starter has to be. Well, newsflash, Eovaldi and Monty have combined for 5 of those 17 games. So Nathan Eovaldi and Jordan Montgomery, the 2 top starters for the Rangers, have combined for 5 of those 17 games with 6 innings or more and 2 earned runs or fewer. And the Diamondbacks guys have combined for 3. Two combined. But they have a handful of quality starts, and the only non-quality start was Gallen's kind of dud when he still provided 6 innings for them to save the bullpen. I think that's just a fascinating part of this series is that Arizona has the bullpen that's performing. Rangers have the manager who's gifted at he's just a wizard with the bullpen. And they each have the starters just in the right spot to really get the best from the bullpen. So how that tug of war works, I think, will be great.
I love that. And if I could add to your point, because that's a really, really terrific stat about the number of quality starts and the fact that the Rangers have been, getting them. That also enables Bruce Bochy, because you're right. I mean, he's a wizard when it comes to running bullpens, but he's really relied. He does have long reliever types down there, like Perez and Dunning or whatever, Andrew Haney. But he's really relied on 3 prime relievers. And he's been able to do that. You get the sense he doesn't have a lot of trust in the other guys in that bullpen, but he loves Leclerc. He loves Boers, or however you ever say his name, and Chapman. Even though Chapman's not classic form Chapman, he's still pretty formidable. He just rides those guys, and it's been the way to go because most of the time he's been getting a pretty lengthy start, and that really plays to his strength too, to what he wants to do with his bullpen. Best case scenario. Now, Lovello, I give him credit because I think Arizona's got a deeper bullpen because of what you talked about, the emergence of some guys. And I think Lovello's comfortable using more relievers. Maybe there's a little more variety down there. I don't know, but you look at Sewald and you looked at the rookie Ginkel. I mean, they've pitched 18 innings combined in the postseason. They haven't allowed a run, and their strikeout rates are huge. So yeah, I think the bullpens is going to be a real central part of this. Usually it is, but it seems to apply this time.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's funky. I mean, they each have kind of a little bit of funk. Well, especially the Rangers side. You got Ginkel with his power slider, Ryan Thompson with his kind of delivery that is hard, but it's difficult. There's deception there, there's funkiness there, and then the lefty Saalfrank, who's just kind of new, right? He's about to have more appearances in the postseason than he had in his career.
Derrick Goold with us here on the Bernie Show. It's a pleasure to have him. Looking forward to. First of all, I'm going to ask you. It's not to put you on the spot. Do you have an idea when? because you've alluded to it in print in your chat, I think, so it's not like you haven't broached the subject. Is there a timetable to expect, John Mozeliak, maybe Ali Marmol, maybe, who knows, maybe Mr. DeWitt to have a season wrap up / look ahead to the off-season news conference?
That's a great question. I think my understanding was it would be Marmol and Mo, so the manager and the president of baseball operations. A request was made for Bill DeWitt. The media put in a request for Bill DeWitt Jr. to be there. I don't know if that's going to happen. I do know that that's not the reason for trying to coordinate those three. I know that's not the reason for the delay. Mozeliak was not available this week, and it really was like the last window before the end of the World Series for them to do it. They have, and it seems like they're the only team, honestly, that respects the don't make announcements, don't have press conferences on days of marquee events. We saw things all throughout the postseason. Some of them little, some of them big, some of them press conferences, but they just stepped all over other teams at times. The big one, Melvin, obviously waited until there was a start. But even that news took away from, NLCS Game 7 a little bit. So the Cardinals have adhered to that. Some of it is, a lot of it is because they want to be respectful of that, and they are in communication with the commissioner's office about when to do that. But also part of it is because they want to get their ducks in a row, to speak of. And I think it's interesting. You described it as like a season wrap up. They definitely don't want that. They want a postseason preview an off.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah, preview. I like that. Yeah.
They want to do that. I heard again and again, and I spoke to Mo, as people know. I think if they read the coverage after the season, and he made that point, like in the sense that he's answered all the questions about what went wrong. And now he wants to be ready to answer the question about what they need to go right. And I kind of get that. I made the point that that's what the questions would have been about anyways. It's not like we want to revisit a game in July. We get it. You lost 91 games. Moving on. It's not going to be a rehash. It's going to be like, okay, what do you do next? The GM meetings are coming up, and it'll be weird, but it wouldn't be the first time that the Cardinals' first kind of press availability would be at the GM meetings. It now kind of seems like it'll take the World Series going short for that not to be the case.
Derrick Goold with us and enjoying the conversation. I keep veering off in other directions with you, but this is a Cardinals-related question. I'm intrigued by the situation in San Diego. Mike Shildt's got a chance to get that manager's job. Ryan Flaherty, 37 years old, kind of groomed by A.J. Preller, the general manager. I mean, you can't count him out. But if they stay within, I know some people, just reading the coverage, the credible coverage out there, think that Shildt, they consider him to be the front runner. How strong, they're not sure, but they think maybe he's got the edge. What do you think? This gives us a chance to kind of maybe assess him or reassess his work as the Cardinals manager and what that means in terms of, is he a good choice in terms of his second opportunity job, even with the Padres, who are kind of eccentric, maybe? I don't know. Do you like the idea of
mercurial, fickle? What do you
yeah.
want to do? Yeah.
Do you like? Did you? How much? I believe that knowing you and in reading your coverage, you had a lot of respect for Shildt. Thought he did a good job, and he did do a good job. And then, how do you think he would be in that situation there? I mean, this is a hypothetical, but that's all I can ask you at this point.
Yeah, I don't see how he wouldn't do well. It almost would be good for him, right? To start at a place without all the history. And I know that he drew strength from his history and his fondness for the history of the Cardinals and all the mentors he had who are tied to the Cardinals. That the talisman that he had of George Kissel's book that he kept on his desk. The connection that he saw between Cardinal history and that Baltimore Orioles history that he and you both cherish, under Weaver and Ripken and all that stuff. Ripken Senior, not Ripken Jr., though he was definitely a part of it.
Sure.
All that. I think he had all that, kind of suddenly and unexpectedly yanked away from him. A phone call that he expects to be the continuation of extension talks becomes a phone call that says you're out. And not only that, but you're out of a place that you've given so much to and put so much value in for 18 years. And I think, that obviously stung hard. But it probably also, when he gets that second chance, focuses him, right?
Yep.
And clears the mechanism a little bit and says your purpose is to win and your purpose is the present. And whatever happened in the past, especially when you're starting with a new team that really don't have a past, no offense or anything, Padres, but they don't. They have good players and they have World Series appearances, but I'm not sure you look at them and go, gosh, that's an august National League franchise. With all that, it's just about the present. What can you do today to make them better, to win? And I'm really eager to see what he does in that kind of realm on that stage, where it isn't, how do you live up to the people before you? How to live up to the brand there? How do you lead today and respect yesterday and get better for tomorrow? Where it's just all about how do you lead today and be better tomorrow? I think he brings a lot to I think he also, just to be specific, brings a lot to what the Padres need.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Bob Melvin couldn't do it. Can Mike Shildt? I'm not sure. But I'm real eager to see if Shilt's relationship with Preller, if that does come to pass, that he's hired as a manager, if Shilt's relationship with Preller, if Shilt's time spent with Fernando Tatis Jr. during his rehab, if Shilt's connection, however you want to put it, if they want to make some Baltimore connection with Machado, if there's enough there
right,
for him to bring that team around to a style of play where they don't just think their talent shows up and wins.
No, and by all indications, he's got a really good relationship with Preller. So there's a trust
really good,
already
and with the owner too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. One more question, and I'm not trying to set a trap because, by the way, you'd be too smart to walk into it anyway. But you covered, just in the manager's role, you covered Shildt for 3.5 years or 3.5 seasons, and Ollie for 2 seasons. What I'm just really curious about this.
For 7, right?
Yeah. Well, we're leaving him out of this one only.
And La Russa for 7.
Yeah.
Or 8. 8.
And I'm not. There's really no need to say, well, which one do you think was better? Because there were, first of all, Marmol. Whereas Shildt was challenged in terms of the team starting pitching, and he had to work around some things and needed some help, which was fine. Marmol had a disaster that was really of not his making whatsoever. So, I think that's the one thing about Marmol. Even I've been kind of tough on him, but I'm like, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt there. He didn't have a fighter's chance with that. I mean, that's just who's going to win with that rotation disaster anyway. But here's what I'm asking for you to enlighten me and everyone listening. What are from what you've noticed in your reporting and just your interactions, what are the differences between Shildt and Marmol? And I'm not asking you who's better, who's worse. I'm not asking that. What are the differences?
Yeah, it's a good one. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not sure we've seen more of Marmol in that role, even though he's had fewer years, because Shildt was the manager during Zoom time, right? Okay.
Right.
So interaction was really limited, and it was always being recorded and monitored. That's not the case with the manager that is there currently. If Shildt was talking to us for a couple of years there for more than a full season, it was on the Zoom, and it was with someone from the team watching and with the team recording, and also just the breadth, and in a weird room where he wasn't really talking to humans but just talking to screens, and that's not exactly the venue of baseball. So I say that because I think that was something that was missed towards the end with Shildt that has been there throughout with Marmol. A difference between the two, they both enjoy talking baseball. I think Shildt enjoys talking about it, the ball talk notion, and I would say that Marmol enjoys debating it, having been on the opposite side of it. And that's a subtle difference. But I think their fondness for baseball is clearly there. How they go about strategy, how they go about explaining strategy is very similar. Shildt is more likely to have those debates, with his staff, whereas Marmol might invite them with anybody. I think there's been more times when Marmol, as a result of his eagerness to kind of debate that, has also acknowledged when he's made a wrong move, which I honestly, you can say this from any of the managers that I cover, I'm not sure they all would have acknowledged a mistake like we've seen Marmol do it a few times, or at least
that's true.
Go through the I was up all night thinking, was this the right call? I know Tony would say, hey man, I got it wrong, right? But it was rare that he would say that. Matheny never did, and Shildt would explain more the multiple outcomes of something. Marmol just gets right to it, maybe sometimes to end the conversation. But as far as I think it's really interesting to how they, and this goes back to the history, and this is the last thing, is Marmol is aware of his youth, right? And uses that to his strength as far as how he relates to the clubhouse. Energy, enthusiasm, innovation, different ways, bluntness, absolute bluntness. And he sets that parameter. Everybody got up in arms about some of the comments he made about players, but it was something he said in spring training. It was actually directly, it was to a group of us, but it was in answering a question from Ben Fredrickson, where he said, look, what I can offer these guys is honesty, and I have to stick to that, even if the honesty hurts at times. But that's what I got to give them, and that's what I need to make clear that they're going to get from me, because I would like that from them. And then when we saw it play out during the season, it was what's he doing? Well, he's sticking to the parameters that he set during spring training. I mean, even individually, I'll say with one guy, he met with Tyler O'Neill, and he expressed that to him during spring training, you're going to get bluntness and honesty from me because I want it in return. And then a few weeks later, what happened? He got bluntness and honesty from him, and it was public because what happened was public. And then neither of them avoided that. I think on the other end, Shildt uses that history that I talked about and his connection to the Cardinals and his longtime commitment to the Cardinals to create that how he leads a clubhouse, right?
Yep.
He uses that history. So I think that's there's a difference there, and I'm not saying either side. Both sides have their pluses and minuses, but I think that's a real difference there. Almost like Marmol has a feistiness, and Shildt wanted to meet the gravitas. Does that make sense?
It does. Yep. No, it totally does.
And yeah.
See, I knew I would be smart to ask you that question. Hey, listen, get back to work, and I really appreciate your time. Huh?
A couple things that I will add is neither of them are stubborn in their ways, and that should be noted. That's something else they share, the willingness to try to do something different, or to take a different tact with a player, or openness to a new kind of look at metrics or a new decision or something like that. Both of them are more open to that. And I think there's a lot of evidence of that. People may want to cherry pick examples, But overall, neither of them, having been around some stubborn managers on other teams and covered them, neither of them were that way. They weren't so stubborn as to hold themselves back.
Derrick Goold, I think you and I just did, whether you know it or not, I think we just did a podcast. So it's good 30 minutes. Yeah.
Excellent.
So,
excellent.
Yeah, I know.
Will it be the best podcast that sees red? Is that the mashup?
I don't know. See, I'm when I keep you for these 30-minute things, see, what I'm really doing is I'm saying, see, you're not done with me as your podcast partner.
No, I know. I used your name to get Richard Justice as a guest on the podcast this past. Was he surprised when you were no longer the co-host? I'm kidding.
I love him, man.
Yeah, so I was very happy to talk with him. So it's good.
Well, listen, I look forward to reading your stuff tomorrow and every day as always.
Yep.
And when you get on the road to Phoenix for picking up the World Series beginning Game 3, I look forward to that too as well. Thank you, Derrick.
Yeah, we'll talk to you. Yep, I got to get the story done because I got an invitation to Wilco tonight, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, man, lucky
Hopefully
you.
We'll see that.
You better go.
Turns out.
I'm envious, but in a happy way for you. Thank you. That's our
friend.
Our
talk to you soon, Bernie.